welcome back to my channel. First off, I wanted to say a massive thank you for everyone to getting me to 50 subscribers. If you were following me over on Instagram, you would have known that the goal was to get 50 subscribers and I would release this video and release my Gladiator application, which we have done that, so it's super exciting. I actually did vlog a little bit of the process of me actually travelling down to Sydney for the audition, but I thought it would be more effective if we did an actual sit down chat and I can talk you through how it come about with the whole experience. But to start off with, I just wanted to say I didn't make it to the casting. I made it to the fitness tests before actually getting onto the show. So it would have been a really awesome experience to get on the show, but there were that many cool people there that obviously not everyone can make it. But I just thought that I would show you or tell you what the behind the scenes experience was, because I'm always interested when people go through this process as to the nitty gritty details and kind of what stages that everybody goes through. But to start off with, how did I come through, or how did I come across the Gladiator application? I would probably say it was maybe July, late July. It was just a random Sunday and I was scrolling on Facebook and I saw Gladiator auditions popped up, and I'd never watched this show before. I had my parents have told me about it, but I never actually really knew what it was about. And if you know me, you'll know I'm a massive fan of Survivor and I've always wanted to apply, but I've never actually set aside the time to do my application, and that was always like a big thing that I wanted to do well. But for this one, I was just like, oh, well, this is something that I've always kind of wanted to do, a challenge, but I never actually dedicated the time. I've got a little bit of time now. I'm just going to quickly flick through and fill out this application questions. So I just sat down and started filling out the application. Off the top of the memory, there were questions like how tall you were, what you weighed, how old you were, what you do for work, just general get to know you questions like that. There was questions about what adversity you've faced in life, so questions that, or answers that you would probably share with close friends and family, but you're actually just sharing this with someone that you actually don't know. And things like what fitness level you're doing, are you training for any events at the moment, if you've been a previous athlete in your sporting history, a lot of stuff around that, making sure that you were physically fit for the show. And at the end of the application, they said, can you please submit a roughly, I think, 60-second application video it was. And so normally this is something that I'd be like, oh, I've got to make the most perfect video. I've got to think about what they would want me to say. But for this one, I was just like, I don't really care to sit down and make time for it. So I'm just going to quickly smash it out and say whatever comes to my head, which I'll show you the video in a second. But for this one, basically, I just set it up in the kitchen and said whatever comes to my mind. It took me maybe like 3 minutes to record it and then maybe 5 minutes to edit and upload. So it was something that I just did pretty quick, which I'll show you right now. Gladiator audition, take 1. Actually, yesterday I competed in the Sydney High Rocks, which was the first High Rocks event to ever be introduced to Australia. So after my performance in that event, I'm ready to take on my next challenge, which is going to be Gladiator Australia, of course. Why would I make a good gladiator, you ask? Well, aside from my severe love of health and fitness and my background as a strength and conditioning coach, I also come with some skills, which should be pretty cool on TV. I can almost do the splits. After a bit of stretching, this is definitely a party trick, but I promise I'll get down pat by the time you air me on the show. Number 2, I'm fit, fast and strong. Number 3, I have a background in netball, which if you've ever watched is one of the sports going. So I'll be sure to take no prisoners when I'm tackling them on the course. So that was my Gladiator audition video. Quite embarrassing, but that's what they want. They want you to show your personality and they want a bit of that spark to see that you'd be good on TV. So that's what I tried to show, and I just tried to be who I am and bring a little bit of zest to the audition video. Then it was the following day. So the next day I got this message, or I got a call from this missed number, and then obviously I didn't answer it, I was at work, and then I got a message saying, hey Emily, this is such and such from the casting crew, of Gladiator. If you have time to chat, we'd love to get to know you a bit more. And so I was trying to call back and forth with them, and then ended up getting a call while I was training in the afternoon. So I ducked out of training, answered the call, and they're like, "Hi, this is Gladiator. We really loved your audition and we really want to know a little bit more about you." And so they were asking me questions. They were asking me a lot of questions about my application and what I answered. A lot of them was around my training. I was training for Spartan at the time, so they asked me a lot around that and talked to me through a little bit how I'm a bit of a hybrid athlete and if that's what I'm wanting to pursue in the future, which is definitely true. One of the questions actually on the application that I didn't mention, they did ask if I was cast on the show, who would I take and why? And so I said I would bring my mum because she's one of the most stubborn, competitive people I've ever met. 2, I would bring my dad because he's a bit fitter and more of a weapon than I am. And then 3, I would bring my housemates because they would definitely bring the vibe to the TV show. And they asked me in particularly about my dad and some of the stuff that we've done together. So I was just telling them about how he'd done ultras before, ultra marathons before and trail runs before, and that we would often train together, and they found that pretty cool. After that, the lovely girl on the casting team said, "We really love your vibe, really love your energy, you seem really sparky, so we'd love to put you through to the fitness auditions." And she was like, "I'm not 100% sure when it's going to be yet, but it'll be sometime next week, so I'll text you out the date." And so it was the next following Tuesday, I drove to Sydney for the fitness auditions, and I didn't really know what to expect. I almost turned up there with actually black warrior zig on. I kid you not, actually went to the chemist in Sydney when I arrived there looking for some, but there was no black ones there, so I just took it as a sign that I probably shouldn't do that. And I'm really glad that I didn't, because everyone there were really normal and kind of chill. But when I got there, they signed me in, they gave me my competitor number, so they didn't call us by names. They wrote our numbers on a little bit of tape and we wore them. And they put us in like a bit of a green room at the gym until we were ready to meet the actual casting director. They also took some headshots of us as well, and then they talked through a little bit of our application with one of the guys there, which he actually again asked about my dad and said that I should have brought him to the audition, which in hindsight I should have, but he was obviously in Dubbo, so it was too hard to get him there. But maybe we would have got cast as a father-daughter duo if he did come. When the auditions were about to start, the casting director came out and he was chatting to us. He was super lovely, and he was telling us about all of the other shows that they've kind of directed for and casted for, and Ninja Warrior was one of them. I can't quite remember some of the others that he told us, but it just sounded like really cool. And a lot of the competitors there were so lovely. It was such a lovely experience. Everyone was really getting behind each other for the tests. Once we kind of got out in the gym space, the trainer that they'd appointed to take us through all of our warm-ups, all of our testing protocols, kind of had a bit of a chat to us, warmed us up, and then they just said as to kind of why they were testing us, which was to mainly see if they did cast us on the show, what they would cast us for, because each games has different physical requirements, and they wanted to match the cast the best that they could to take on the gladiators in the specific games. So to start off with, we went through our vertical jump testing, which was held by the guys at Vold Testing Performance. This is actually something that I have experience with the technology that I do for work, where they had the force plates out and they were just going through each competitor one after another, testing our vertical jump and also our grip strength. So they had us do like a bit of a grip strength measurement. After that, because they measured our body weight on the force plates, the next test was to do as many reps as we could with, I'm pretty sure it was 70% of what our body weight was, which for me, whatever the percentage was, it ended up being 60 kilos, which is my 1 rep max. So I was a little bit concerned about that, but a lot of the females there in particular were strong women and they hadn't done a lot of bench press as well. So we're all kind of in similar boats, and they mainly just wanted us to test as many reps as we could with a weight that was still challenging but also safe. So for me, I ended up getting to 55 kilos and I was about to do the 60, but the trainer wouldn't let me. So he made me do as many as I could with the 55 kilos, which I think I repped out maybe like 5 or 6. After that, we went into our sprint and agility testing, which they had our speed gates out. The first test we did was a 20 meter up and back sprint. So we went as hard as we could, 20 meters out, turn around and come straight back through. We ended up having 3 goes each at this one, I think it was. And then the second one we did was a little bit more around agility, called a T test. So we actually sprinted up 10 meters, went out to the side for 5 meters, then back to the other side for 5 meters, and then had to reverse run back. This one was a really cool vibe for all of our sprint stuff. Everyone was watching and everyone was just like cheering so loud for each other. The directors and casting crew really created an awesome opportunity for everyone to just get behind each other. Looking back on it now, because everyone was so supportive, I'm not sure if maybe they wanted to see a couple of personalities kind of step up as a little bit more competitive or just show a little bit more of an edge rather than be just supportive with the rest of the crew. Maybe that might have highlighted or set out a couple of people apart from the rest of the group. But at the time, you just don't really know. You're just doing whatever you think is right and what they're kind of telling you to do. After that, we went straight into our pull-up testing and single arm hanging. I've been doing a lot of hanging in preps for my Spartan training, so I thought my single arm hanging would be not a problem and my pull-ups would be the problem. Coming into the test when I was driving down there, I remember telling my dad, I was like, if there's one test I don't want to do, I really hope it's not pull-ups. Anyway, we got there and they said, you've got to do 5 pull-ups and then go straight into 20 single arm hangs. And the first question most people said was, are we allowed to use chalk? And we weren't. So we went into 5 pull-ups and they actually had people watching to make sure that you got your chin over the bar and were doing them quality. And then they also said, if you can't do 5 pull-ups, that's fine. Just do as many as you can before you start to do your hangs. So I went into the testing knowing that I probably couldn't do 5 and actually surprised myself and managed to get out 5, but it was on the single arm hanging that I fell off, maybe like 3 reps in. The bar was very slippery and there was a few others that got 20, but not too many more. And there were a few females who couldn't actually rep out the 5. So it was a really mixed bag. It would have been really hard to actually see who they would have casted. For the casting days as well, there was 3 days. So there was 3 days of 3 groups, and I'd say there'd be around maybe 20 in my group. After we'd done the testing, we all came together and then had the final words from the casting director, and he said that we'd all done really, really well as a collective, that our group was one of the best performing ones that was on the day. And to finish off the day, we went upstairs, got measured for our costumes, and then we went home. So that was kind of the testing day. Nothing was really said after that until maybe like a month later, I think. The unsuccessful applicants were told, which was me, and then that was it. And that would keep us in mind if there were any other shows that they would cast us for. So that was pretty much the whole experience. It was a really, really nice experience. I was really scared going into it, but met a lot of incredible people. It will be really cool to watch the show air and actually see how many of the people from my group got aired and to be able to actually watch them on TV. One of the big thoughts that come away from the show or come away from the testing day when I was down there was, if these are the people that are going to be the contestants, I'm scared to see the gladiators, because a lot of the people that were there were like really strong CrossFitters, really strong female strongman competitors. So they were like so strong and muscly compared to like the average female. I'd like to think myself fairly muscly, but compared to them, like I was tiny. So it was so crazy, but it was really cool to meet such awesome and supportive people in the environment. I thought it would kind of be a little bit competitive, a little bit of like jealousy, but there was none of that. Everyone was just there to give it a go, and mainly just for the experience as well. So that's my Gladiator audition story. Hopefully I'll have some other cool audition stories for you in the future. If the Survivor casting people are watching, definitely think about me. I'll hopefully be applying for the next season. That would be epic. But thank you so much for watching, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to share this video and for getting my YouTube to 50 subscribers. If you don't also follow me on Instagram, that's where I'm most active. I also do have a TikTok, which I occasionally post on, which I'll leave here. But I'll see you in the next video.